Hello everyone, my name is Aaron Woodman, and I want to welcome you to my YouTube channel. In this video, we will be talking about handling a Gish Galloper when someone rapidly says a bunch of claims. If you have not heard of the term Gish Galloper, it is a speaking method that involves, quote, spewing so much complete nonsense in such a short span that your opponent can't address, let alone counter all of it, unquote, according to the Urban Dictionary. It has one aim: to bury someone with so many incorrect, irrelevant, or idiotic arguments. It is designed to leave you gasping for air, sunk in a flood of falsehoods and fabrications, drowned in a deluge of distortions, deflections, and distractions. The Gish Galloper knows full well that it takes more time and energy to disprove a false claim than to make one, time and energy that you almost certainly don't have. They then try to claim victory when you are unable to rebut all their points, hence the relentless barrage of falsehoods that they level in your direction to begin with. Often, by the time you have begun preparing your rebuttal of the Galloper's first lie, they have rattled off another dozen. It is what's become known as proof by verbalocity or being baffled by nonsense. The Gish Galloper wants to trick the audience into believing that the facts and the evidence are on their side in an attempt to create an illusion of authority. It is a powerful, if dishonest, method of getting people to believe in your argument. With this in mind, where did the term Gish Galloper come from? The late Duane Tolbert Gish was an evolution-denying biochemist who worked as the vice president of the Institute for Creation Research, or ICR. The Dallas-based pseudoscience outfit has long wanted to mainstream young Earth creationism, the Genesis-based religious worldview that says all life on Earth was created in 6 days by the God of the Old Testament at some point in the past 10,000 years, with evolution playing no role. In fact, as the San Antonio Express News reported in 2011, the ICR, quote, tried to force the state of Texas to allow it to offer a master's degree in science education, unquote, from a biblical perspective. But a federal judge threw out the ICR's lawsuit in 2010, rejecting it as, quote, overly verbose, disjoint, incoherent, meandering, and full of irrelevant information, unquote. Still, while Gish's organization could not win in a Texas courtroom, Gish himself made a name for the ICR and young Earth creationism by winning an argument after argument against evolutionists in debate halls across the country. To be clear, he wasn't convincing people on substance or through scholarship. He was convincing people with speed and confidence, and humor too. The audience liked him. Even his critics, like the computer scientist Richard Trott, who tangled with Gish on more than one occasion, acknowledge Gish's extraordinary charisma and his, quote, natural gift for a folksy and relaxed presentation, unquote. Conspiracy theory expert John Grant explained the key to Gish's style and strategy in his book, Debunk It, Fake News Edition, how to stay sane in a world full of misinformation. Gish would insist his opponent go first. After his opponent was finished with his or her argument, Gish would begin talking very quickly for perhaps an hour, reeling off a long string of facts. Well, facts, I should say. His debating opponent, of course, did not have the chance to even know all those facts, let alone work out whether or not they were correct. In his or her rebuttal, the opponent could either ignore Gish's tirade altogether, which would likely be like dodging the issue, or trying to answer as many of the points as possible, which meant looking as if he or she was floundering. Gish's trick was a clever one, and it fooled a lot of audiences. What was missing from those presentations credible evidence, verifiable facts, scholarly arguments, etc. But in a real-time setting, this was not obvious to many audiences. According to the ICR, Gish participated in more than 300 debates with evolutionists over the course of his life. In 1994, after watching a disingenuous Gish run things around far more evident and qualified scholars and scientists in one formal debate after another, a frustrated Eugene Scott, then the executive director of the National Center for Science Education, coined the term Gish Gallop, describing it as the method by which, quote, the creationist is allowed to run on for 45 minutes or an hour, spewing forth torrents of error that the evolutionist hasn't a prayer of referencing the format of a debate, unquote. Scott pointed out that while appearing on television and radio with creationists, she herself had, quote, been able to stop Gish and all and say, wait a minute, if X is so, then wouldn't you expect Y? Or something similar, and show that their model is faulty. But in a debate, the evolutionist has to shut up while the creationist gallops along, spewing out nonsense with every paragraph, unquote. This is the key point that you need to take away from all of this. The nonsense is a feature, not a bug, of the Gish Gallop. Gish and his creationist pals were told time and time again that their claims were false, yet they regurgitated them ad nauseum at the same speed, in the same order, in debate after debate. As Skeptic magazine pointed out in 1996, quote, many scientists have publicly corrected Gish in his presence, but Gish has gone on to repeat the same errors in later debates and writings. He succeeds at this because in the next city, with a new audience and a new scientist debate, who's to know that his argument got shot down with evidence by that other evolutionist last week, unquote. It is the same today with the climate change deniers or the anti-vaxxers, especially in online forums. No matter the number of fact checks and corrections, they continue to relentlessly push extraordinary amounts of misinformation, disinformation into the public consciousness. In fact, it is the deliberate repetition of nonsense that differentiates the Gish Gallop from similar tactics like spreading. The latter is a debating technique said to come from a combination of the word speed and reading, in which the debater packs as many arguments as possible into their allotted speaking time by delivering them at a furious pace. In a formal debate competition in which every point is supposed to require a rebuttal, the aim is to defeat your opponent by making such a point-by-point rebuttal virtually impossible. However, the Gish Gallop, unlike spreading, is all bad faith. It is all nonsense. In the real world, you rarely have the opportunity to do a point-by-point rebuttal. Indeed, the best Gish Gallopers take advantage of the fact that you simply do not have the time, space, or resources to comprehensively counter their dizzying catalog of falsehoods in real time. So what do? How do you best respond to a Gish Galloper if you encounter one? Here's a 3-step process of handling them. Step 1, pick your battle. You could start by finding the weak points in their arguments, but the Gish Galloper, if they are aware of what you are doing, will say you are cherry-picking from their overall argument. They will imply you are picking out the weakest points and counting that as a win. Engaging in a single flaw or worst point rebuttal is not always going to work, and you should not do this when the Gish Galloper has a strong, cohesive argument. When you are facing a Gish Galloper, you need to be able to quickly point out the weakness of their fire hose strategy rather than attempting a point-by-point rebuttal. It is impractical, if not impossible, to go line by line. Instead, single out the weakest claim or argument made by the Galloper. Pick on that and present it as a representative of their overall strategy to mislead the audience. Doing so will put them on the defensive. Step 2, don't budge. Remember, the Gish Galloper's purpose is often not to try to win people over, but to muddy the argument for everyone involved. They could bewilder and confused while hopping from one falsehood to the next. The best defense against this tactic is to make sure you stop them midstream, and then don't budge. Don't let them move on to the next falsehood. Hammer away with a well-chosen, well-prepared rebuttal until they cannot help but concede. Step 3, call them out. Don't be afraid to call out the nonsense from the Gish Galloper. Point out to the audience exactly what they are doing, no matter what setting you're in. Make sure that others in the room or watching virtually understand what you do, that the Gallop is a tactic. Don't allow an audience to be fooled into assuming the Gish Galloper has special command of the subject because of the facts that they have just sprouted. You can call it out, and you can also pair this approach with the first technique, highlighting one of the Galloper's weaker arguments. Reveal their strategy, then zero in on one weaker argument from among many they have rattled off, and ask them to explain it in detail. Chances are that they have revealed only the sketchiest understanding of what they are even arguing. All in all, the key is to expose the overall strategy. If your job in an argument with a Gish Galloper is to put raincoats on your audience, that begins by making your audience aware of what they are being subjected to. Point out the speed at which the person is speaking and the laundry list of lies that they have just recited aloud in record time. In conclusion, being a great public speaker means being honest with your audience about not just what you are saying, but also calling out the nonsense that you are listening from someone else. Public speaking involves shaping narratives about things, and you want people to believe your narrative. If you see someone purposely sharing false information in a rapid-fire way, it is up to you to make the audience aware of this disinformation tactic. When you are faced with someone who is spouting lie after lie, exaggeration after exaggeration, you should take the approach we went through in this video. You do not want to be, or do not have to be afraid or overwhelmed by the Gish Galloper. You can call them out and make them get defensive over the claims they are making. Having a Gish Galloper makes a dialogue unproductive, and you need to do everything in your power to turn it around to be productive by calling out the nonsense. If you do not call out the nonsense, then the Gish Galloper will convince the audience to believe in a misleading narrative. In the next video, we will talk about expressing confidence in your speech. Until then, please like this video, subscribe to my YouTube channel, and turn on the post notifications so you will be notified when I post my next video. I appreciate your support. Remember, you are powerful, you are capable, and you are the changemaker our society needs. Thank you so much for watching this video. I will see you soon.